Hey everybody, it's Vallen from Mischief of Mice, here with another episode on Witchery. Today, we're going to be covering Vampirism. So you've freshly become a vampire. Well, what next? First, before you start running around doing anything of any consequence, you should be aware of your weaknesses and your strengths. So to start off with, you're only going to want to travel around at night during your first few levels of becoming a vampire, because the sunshine will almost instantly kill you. Therefore, if you step out from underneath a block during the day, you'll catch fire and quite possibly just die. Now, there is a slight advantage to that, and that is that despawn rate for any items that you drop on the ground from your death will actually not despawn for 12 minutes instead of 5. So this will allow you a brief period or reprieve, allowing you to actually wait until nighttime and then go and get your items if you die. So that is kind of a bonus. Now, on top of that, you'll end up being vulnerable to other vampires, werewolves, boss creatures of some sort. Things of that nature will still do normal damage to you, and will probably kill you, but other forms of damage will not kill you. For instance, you will be infinitely able to breathe underwater. Your hearts will go down as you're being attacked by other normal enemies, and you will actually not die. It will just constantly hover around the half-heart mark, but it may end up, acquiring your more hunger because you're trying to regenerate health. Now, other things that you're weak to is garlic. So if somebody has made a garland of garlic, and you end up getting too close to it, you will be pushed back. So if another player has put it around their house, over their door, and you try entering, you'll just get pushed back. Now, if you think, alright, well, I'll just break it. Well, you end up catching on fire trying to break it. And even though you can technically break it, it doesn't actually move, and it stays where it's at. So that is some kind of a ward, if not protection, that some players could use against you. Now, also, fire will kill you. As you noticed, I was being caught on fire there. So it will do damage, same as everything else will, but it will actually end up killing you if it takes you to the point of your hearts are completely gone. So if you're using fire weapons or you're fighting creatures that are caught on fire, you're going to want to take special care that they don't set you on fire as well. Now, also, eating normal food will cause hunger. So you don't want to do that anymore. No more baked potatoes or anything of that nature. Instead, you're going to want to sate yourself with the blood of your victims. And your hunger will replenish from your blood that you end up getting from your victims. Now, you're also a demon. So if you remember in part 1, the Brew of Demon's Bane, you will take a lot more damage from this than you did before you started using it. So you're going to want to be especially careful for any items that may have bonuses to damage against demons. And lastly, of your weaknesses, poor reputation in a town may cause vampire hunters to spawn. So if you are feeding on a villager and you actually injure them while feeding them, which equals taking them to less of their blood store or less, then you will have a chance of getting bad reputation in town and possible spawn of vampire hunters. Not to mention any guards may end up running around and start shooting you as well. So, enough with the weaknesses. Let's see what the benefits are. Well, you're immune to poison and disease. So if you end up upsetting a witch and they start throwing poison potions at you, for instance, let's just start punching this guy here, and this one here, and this one here. Oh, there we go, I'm poisoned. Oh no. Oh look, it went away. So you will get a brief moment of being poisoned, but it will go away over time. And it's not going to kill you. So you do have that. Immunity to poison and disease, for the most part. You also will have increased attack damage. So even with a sword or without a sword, you will do more damage overall to anybody that you attack. Hunger regenerates from blood pool stores, which I already mentioned. The fire resistance does not work. So, if you are thinking, I have a fire resistance potion, I can therefore become invulnerable. Doesn't work like that. By being a vampire, you have, even with those spell effects on you, a fire resistance immunity failure. So, what else? You cannot use death protection puppets, which is more of a weakness than anything else. So therefore, if you die, this will not protect you anymore. As well as the vampiric puppets won't work anymore, because, well, you're a vampire. You don't need to use vampiric puppets. So, you're probably thinking, well, it's going to be a long wait throughout the day. Not necessarily true. If it ends up being daytime, you have a chance of being able to cycle through the day, depending upon how your server is set up, or if you're running single player, it should be relatively easy. But if you take a bed with a few wood planks and a few wood logs, you will end up making yourself a coffin. Now, if it's daytime, and you see that you need to change it to nighttime, all you need to do is sleep. And you will cycle it to night, which is the opposite of a normal bed. But if you try and use it during nighttime, it won't work. You also do need to be very careful, though, because if you end up sleeping in a bed, you will end up cycling it to daytime again, and therefore you might be a little out of reach of getting to your coffin to cycle it back. So there are 10 levels to becoming a master vampire, and by obtaining yourself Observations of an Immortal, which you should be able to find in random spawn chests. It's relatively common, especially in the witchery huts that you can find in a town. And combining it with Torn Pages, you will end up discovering the different level requirements and abilities that you can gain from becoming a vampire. So, level 1, I have the ability to drink blood. So, while villagers are sleeping at night, and you aim at their neck, you highlight the Drink Blood option next to your hotbar, and you shift right-click, and you can drink blood by holding it down. You'll see it start going, but be careful, you don't want to go too far, or else you'll wake up the villager and injure him in the process, therefore causing that negative effect on the community. So, you can keep doing this until you end up getting to your next level. You also have a blood pool, which is on your left side there. You start with 3 blood pips, and as you level up, that will increase, which is essentially like a maximum health bar, but it's just your blood stores, which you'll use to use different abilities as you go. You also can sense blood. As you see here, you can see the creature's blood levels in there. Now you can also feast on animals, but you will never be able to actually max out your blood level on the left there. So by going vegetarian, in a way, you will not be able to advance as easily as you would if you were to feast upon the local villager life. So let's get ourselves up to level 2. Therefore, just by feeding enough to get to a maximum blood level on my character, your thirst grows stronger. So, in here, in the Observations of the Immortal, I had added that one page. Today it said, or should I say this evening, he told me of his first kill. The thirst that first night, he said, was overwhelming. He had to fully sate his hunger. And that is exactly what we just accomplished. By sating our hunger, we accomplished level 2. So, by combining this book with another page, we'll be able to get to our next goal. It should be mentioned that you do not actually need to progress through this book in order to level yourself up. You can actually do it with the knowledge that you may already have from either this video or if you've done this process before, etc. So, by going to the end here, he found he was able to transfix his victims, was now able to drink as he needed without others realizing, so long as he did not drain more than half. Did so from 5 oblivious souls. So you see you have your new ability, it tells you what you can do with it, and what you need to do for your next level up. Essentially, on the hotbar here, you'll see I now have a little eye icon that says Transfix/Toggle Night Vision. So if I have this on and I hit Shift right, I can turn Night Vision on and off, which is very convenient, and it actually does not use any of your blood stores in the process. This is just a permanent thing that vampires can do. Lovely. So, what else can you do? Well, just by being near a villager that is not sleeping, let's say. I don't know if I have any in here. Let's see if I can find one for you, and I'll show you what the heck I'm talking about. So it is daytime, and therefore everybody's awake. What this allows me to do is to transfix a guy, and you can see the particles on there. It only lasts for a second or two, so you don't want to get too greedy. But during the time that those particles are up, you can therefore drink his blood without much issue. So therefore, like 1 blood pip there, and I was able to drink it pretty quickly. Transfix another guy, I can drink his blood. So I just need to do this with 5 guys without getting them to the halfway point. You can get them close, just don't go beyond that. So, transfix, and drink. And there we go. Your thirst grows stronger. So let me change it back to nighttime, and I'll continue on. And actually, I just double leveled up. How I did this was because the next step is actually to drain villagers' blood for 4 nights straight. So therefore, you drain a villager each night for 4 nights, and therefore you'll be able to accomplish the next level up. So just by doing this over time, and actually achieving level 3 before I reached level 4, I was able to just automatically level up as the night progressed. So you can see here, strength was flowing into him. The more he drank as the nights progressed, the stronger he became. It was on the 4th night after his mastery of drinking that the world slowed down. So with this, it tells you that you became stronger. What that means is that I now have a knockback effect on my attacks. Let me run around and show you. Just by hitting things, I get a slight knockback effect. Of course, if you're running while you do it, you get even more of a knockback effect, and so on. With this other requirement already met, it was on the 4th night after his mastery of drinking, we're able to progress on to the next stage. Now before we go into level 5, it should be noted that we also gained speed buffs. So just by running and clicking with this, right click, I'm able to gain at least a couple levels of speed boost. So therefore I can actually move around quite quickly, and it will use a little bit of your blood stores. Not very much at all actually. So you can keep this going quite regularly. And the higher levels, the higher the speed buff. You can go some pretty insane speed. And what this also means is that by becoming level 4, we now have the ability to make ourselves some fancy new duds. If you saw at the beginning of the video, you saw me wearing some vampire clothing. Well, by taking a bone needle and right-clicking on some wool, you'll get blood-stained wool. And therefore, once you take that, you can harvest it up, put it into a furnace, and make yourself some material for making yourself a new set of clothes. So by making woven cruar, you're able to actually craft yourself that new set. By taking here, it's just a standard recipe, as you've seen before, but there is some slight variation, and that is that you can actually make yourself pants or a skirt, depending upon how you would like to go. Also, with that in mind, you can make yourself a dress coat or a vampire dress jacket, which will actually give you a little bit of a bust. So, let's make myself a flat-chested version here. Make myself some pants and some shoes. There we go. And then I will put those on. And you can see now I'm looking all fancied up. But that's not all. We're going to actually modify those a little bit further. Now, the hat and the coat can be color changed. So if you see here, I have some lapis. I'm using this as an example. By putting a piece in here, you can see it slightly changes the color to kind of magenta. Put in another piece, and you can see it gets darker as it goes until it becomes a really solid blue. And that's what I'm going to do with this set here, is essentially just turn it into a blue set. Now there is still another item that you can make, and that is a cane sword, which I find quite valuable because it has multiple abilities, as does the armor that you just crafted. There is another set of armor, but before I get into that, let's tell you the different abilities that you can get. So, with this, the cane sword, the vampire top hat, trousers, boots, great stuff. But let's see, 2 pieces of vampire normal wear is going to get you faster drinking, and that means of blood from the villagers. On top of that, the 3rd piece will give you a fire resistance bonus plus a mesmerizing boost. Now, the fire resistance isn't really going to help you too much. It just is going to allow you to live like an extra half second in the sun, maybe. The mesmerize boost is really going to help you when you've got mesmerize available to you, which is later on. And then, of course, the 4th piece is going to be extended fire resistance, so you'll be able to last maybe 2 seconds in the sun. It's not really going to help you a lot, but it might help you a little bit. Now, the cane sword, on the other hand, is going to be very interesting. So if you look at me here, you can see I have the cane sword in my hand. And when I hit Shift, right-click, it turns into a sword. And it's the equivalent of a diamond sword, but it has special abilities. So, with this, you can actually sneak use it to draw and sheath it, as I just did, but it also siphons the blood off of kills to an internal reservoir, effectively storing 1 blood pip's worth of blood in your sword. And when you need to use it, you turn it back into your cane and just right-click. And you can drink it, just like that. Pretty neat stuff. Now, if you need to repair these items because you have them heavily enchanted with whatever you want, you can end up repairing them. The regular armor is going to be the effectiveness of leather, plus it's going to have the durability of iron, and it repairs in an anvil with pieces of leather. Now, the cane sword is repairable in a similar fashion, just with a diamond every time that you need to repair it. So this stuff can be repaired as normal clothing would be. Now, I did say that there was another set of armor as well, and that's going to be the chain coat and the vampire helmet. For those, you just take your top hat and dress coat off, and you add yourself some iron. Let's get a bunch here. Well, that'll do. So essentially, you just take your coat, and on the 4 cardinal directions, you add some iron, and you get yourself chain coat. Now, it will lose the color bonuses that you may have applied to it, but you can always re-add those. Vampire helmet, which will not be colorable. So, keep that in mind if you're trying to end up changing things. But you can still change your chain coat so that it's more effective. Now, there is a downside to that, and that is that this is actually part of a different set of armor. It will only give you fire resistance, but you'll still get the 2 bonus piece set from faster drinking and fire resistance. So, or faster drinking rather, I should say. And these will give you a fire resistance bonus. So you now have a little bit more armor. This only gives you 5.5 armor total for the entire set. So therefore diamond armor will definitely outrank it as far as protection. But remember, you're immortal, so that won't really matter as much. Alright, so enough about clothing, swords, and speed buffs. Let's end up finding out what we need to do next. And that is here. His greatest foe, the sun, was ever present, tormenting and instantly deadly to him. Became his obsession, found a way to collect sunlight and burnt himself with it 10 times during the night. So essentially what you need to do is obtain yourself a bunch of these quartz spheres. The recipe is a bunch of nether quartz, blocks of nether quartz, and glass. So you are going to have to go into the nether, get yourself a whole lot of quartz, because you're going to need 10 of these, or at least 1, and then you'll have a lot of trips and a lot of waiting to do. But I would recommend just going ahead and making yourself 10 of them and being done with it. It can actually be a useful tool later on as well. Then you're also going to want to make yourself one of these sun collectors here. The recipe for that is a couple of gold ingots, a redstone repeater, a couple of iron ingots, and a daylight sensor. Then you're going to want to place them down like I have here. You can place the daylight sensors around the sun collector like this if you want. It's not going to actually make any difference. I recommend just making 1 daylight sensor and putting the sun collectors around it as such. Now you do this 3 times, you'll get yourself 12, that should be fine. And then you put quartz spheres in every single one of these. Now I'm going to get some, we'll be right back. Okay, so I've got these in place, and essentially from dawn, you're not going to want to have any of this time missed, to later on. About halfway through the day, they will need to be undisturbed, and essentially they will gather sunlight and turn a bright yellow. I'll be back as soon as that's done. So essentially, I've just grabbed myself some of these so that I can speed things up. sun grenades. That's what these will end up turning into once they've made it through a half of a day without being disturbed. And essentially, when you throw them out, you just right-click and you will kind of lob it like a potion. It will end up generating this little sparkle effect, and it will burn any enemies nearby and then give you a blindness effect. So you're going to want to be very careful about that because it will make things a bit difficult. What I recommend doing, because this will actually last for a few seconds, there we go, is you find yourself during the night a pool of water and a wall right next to it. Then you just launch one of these here. As it's doing its thing, you just jump up in the air a little bit so that you catch on fire a tiny bit, and then you should be done. Wait for it to finish for its animation, its blindness effect, and when that's all complete, launch yourself another one of these. Do that 10 times, and you'll end up advancing to the next level. There we go. And there we have it. Level up. Now, to wait for this effect to go away. So as you can see here, I've got full health, I've got another blood pip, and it's daytime. Now when I walk out into the sun, watch what happens. You'll notice I start smoking instead of burning. So my blood levels, as you see here, are actually dropping quite fast actually in comparison to any of my abilities that I use. But this is essentially allowing you a short time that you can actually exist in the sun. Pretty darn cool. Taking the book in for the next level up, we should be able to see what we need to do next. Once again, scroll to the end. First walk in the sun after his rebirth brought him to bloody tears. He felt his blood burning, but no longer instantly, which is what we just discovered. He needed more strength, and extinguishing creatures of pure fire was his solution. 20 died. Essentially, it's telling you you need to find yourself 20 blazes and kill them. Whether they be in the nether or in the overworld doesn't really make a difference. So if you've got yourself another spawner, or a blaze spawner, I recommend sticking by it and just putting them down as fast as you can. But be careful, they could set you on fire, and well, we all know how that ends. And there we go. Your thirst grows stronger still. He could smash solid stone, but bound to the earth. However fast, he was still limited. He called on her once more, repeating the rite of his rebirth, gifted her a flower, the color of the blood she so craves. So essentially, what this means is good news and bad news. Good news is that you can now smash stone with your bare hands. Allow me to change it to night real quick. I know I'm in regular survival mode. By regular left clicking, you see what happens. I'm trying to break the rock. Right click, nothing happens, but if I shift left click, I instantly will break the stone at a slight cost from my blood reserves. So if I just go absolutely nuts here, you can see my blood is actually draining quite well. Well, it can be quite handy if you're in a pinch, to try and dig yourself out or to mine. It all depends on how you handle your blood stores. But that's another story. So that is the good news. The bad news is, if you remember, we had a specific certain somebody by the name of Elle, and then later Lilith, who we had to defeat to become a vampire. Well, guess who you've got to try and defeat again? That's right, folks. We've got to repeat the same process. Let me get it all set up. Alright, put the skull down. Put the chicken down. Bowline, and we get ourselves a goblet full of chicken blood. Alright, now we pour that on top of the skull. Of course, it has to be nighttime while all this is happening. And we get ourselves Elle. Same exact situation as before. She will follow you around. You need to push her into the nether, then defeat her when she turns into Lilith. Don't forget your gas brew of Demon Bane, though, because you'll still need that. Whether you're a vampire or not, you're actually more susceptible to fire than you were before, because you can't actually gain immunity to it. So, let's get this going. Come on, Elle. There you go. She gets all excited when she gets close to the lava. If there's some that's a ledge that's level to it and you're down by it, she'll jump right in. Now, I did actually try creating a small ridge around here to prevent her from floating too far out. Didn't really work. She needs to be able to float a certain distance into the lava, and that's just going to make things that much more interesting and challenging for you. And there she is. Let's try and take her down quick. There we go. This should help and speed things quite fast. And once you've defeated her, don't forget you need to have yourself a poppy so that you can actually end up giving her the gift of love. She grants you freedom, and your thirst grows stronger still. So, what kind of freedom does she get you? Uh-oh, I'm down on this ledge. How do I get back up? Not a problem. I now have bat form. That's right, bat form. Check this out. Alright, here we go. I am now three little bats. Totally awesome stuff here. So, now you can see I have my sword equipped, or I can have a book or potion, whatever. Just keep in mind, if you try attacking something, it's not really going to work. You see, he's just kind of looking at you funny. So, something to keep in mind. And if you end up trying to bite things while you are small, you will be able to, but it's going to be a very, very small amount of blood that you're gaining at a time. So it's going to be really slow in comparison to regular vampire form. But now you can fly around as you want. You can even add speed bonuses. No, you can't. You can use transfixion. No, you can't. Well, at least you can use your night vision. That much is true. And your bite, but it is rather reduced. So the benefit is you can fly around at will just by using a little bit of this. Now, while you're in this form, you do use your blood up a little bit at a time. So you're going to want to be careful that you don't exhaust your blood in the process of doing this. To transform back, just hold down on the bat button. Let me step forward here so you can see me, and right click, and you turn back just like that. So real quick, real easy, no problem. Alright, let's add another page to the book. See what we've got now. We have: he smiled, a rare event, when he told me of his first flight. He flew from village to village until he knew the full extent of his domain. There was now nowhere he could not go. What this means, you need to fly around to a minimum of 3 villages in a night. And as it's almost daytime, I might switch that over before I do so. So here we go. It's a fresh night. I am now in bat form, and I am going to fly to the next village. Be back in a moment. Alright, here's village number 1. We have arrived. Feel free to feast on any villages nearby. Alright, now that I've had a little bit to eat, let's head out of here and on to the next village. There we go. Village number 2. Of course, to a point, I guess you could be a savior of many of these villagers, just so that you can end up saving them for yourself. Alright, and now on to village number 3. There we go. My thirst grows stronger. And I believe that there's probably something in here that essentially requires you to visit villages that you have not actually been to before. So, I'm going to head back to base, and we'll continue on. Alright, and level 8. Let's see what we've got now. So essentially what we gained by leveling up there is the ability to mesmerize. It's not well known what this is, because it's not that well documented in here. So essentially, flew from village to village until he knew the full extent of his domain. There was now nowhere he could not go. So this one didn't actually tell you what your ability is. In this case, when you transfix a villager or a guard, they will actually follow you for a while. So if you remember, the armor that you wear may have different bonuses. So let's see if I can actually get one to follow. There we go. Sometimes you just got to break a few eggs. So during the nighttime, it's going to be a little more difficult because they will actually end up wanting to run all the way back into the nearest house before your mesmerize wears off. So you're going to want to keep a close eye on him and lure him to a place of your choosing. So you can see he just totally took off on me there. It's going to be a little bit challenging. Oh, darn garlic. Come here, you. You want to come with me over here. And essentially you're going to want to lure them into a cage, which I will show you in just a moment. So this is going to require some iron bars set up in kind of a U shape, leaving one space in the center. Then you're going to want to make a second level of it. And with this, you will then end up putting a lid on it with some oak planks. So like this. Now I'm in creative just to make it easier for myself here, but essentially you're making yourself a little cage. Then you lure your villager into this and plonk down one last set of iron bars. And you'll see I've got it set up just like this. So you'll want to do this with 5 total villagers. Be right back once I've got it set up. And there we go. I have enough cages for all the villagers. Oh, some of them are escaping. That's alright. I'm just spawning them in here. And there we go. 5 cages for 5 villagers. So essentially what you need to do at this point is drink while mesmerized from every single one of them. And you'll need at least maybe 1 blood pip's worth from each one. So alright, so maybe more than 1 blood pip each. But that was all 5 of them, and I got about a blood pip and a half, maybe a little more, and my thirst grew even stronger still. So now I am a level 9 vampire. Something I did skip is that the entry in here says the weak-minded would now not only let him drink his fill, but would also follow like faithful hounds. Horror of all horrors, he lured 5 of them to specially prepared iron cages, topped with wood and with a gap at the front. He sealed them inside, like so. So you can see here, iron grate, plus you've got the wood logs on top. He began feeding from each of them, mesmerizing them first, then carefully he drank all he could without damaging any. And then on to level 9. At last he knew his blood was strong enough to replicate what she had done for him. Left me weak, close to oblivion, but I watched him fill a glass goblet and hand it to me. We both sat next to a coffin, far from the sun's gaze. Drink is all he said. So, there won't be any more entries in the book after this, but essentially what this is going to allow us to do, actually let me just turn into a bat, is make ourselves some minions. You can see here one of my vampire minions. They will actually end up coming back to their cage. You should have a coffin nearby, and when you end up converting them, they will end up going out during the night and bringing back special stuff for you. So, let's end up converting somebody, shall we? I recommend for this process getting yourself a couple potions of regeneration, and therefore, when you end up feeding off of them, you see it causes them actual damage. So you're going to want that to make sure that you don't end up killing them. But you're going to have to go back and forth from Transfix, Mesmerize, to drinking blood. Until eventually you end up draining all their blood. Then you offer them a glass goblet of right-clicking and holding it down your own blood. So, I'll be back when that's about ready. Alright, one last time, and now I offer him a glass of my own blood. Oop, but he's got to be mesmerized, of course. And poof, we now have a new vampire minion. Excellent. Which will have a random chance of wearing the male regalia or the female regalia. Then you break him out, and he immediately goes to work. Look at that. He's running over there, gets a bit. Instantly they run around up on the roof because it's daytime. Well, typically you're supposed to do this at night. My bad. It apparently just switched. And if you have things set up, you see that my thirst just went up considerably there. So I now have an even greater level. I am now level 10, which is the maximum level vampire. I gain one more ability, and that is this grayed out effect over here. Which, oh boy, he's just going to town. We've got this this little item here, which is a blood crucible. The recipe for it is very simple. Some stone brick stairs, stone bricks, and a stone brick slab will make you one of these. I have tried placing multiples of these out. It won't make a difference. You can only really use one. So the idea is you take a specific item and right-click on this bowl once it has a bunch of blood in it that will be gathered from your minions each night. And you'll gain about 5 complete uses of a new ability. So in this case, let me get some of those items. Alright, the first item is Water Artichoke, which is a very uncommon item in Witchery, or at least uncommon in most of the recipes, but if you right-click on here, you see I now have this little item here called Call Storm, which essentially, during day or night, will allow me to, let me get outside here, to call a rainstorm. So let's do this, and actually I'm going to go jump over here and jump in a regular bed so that I can turn it into day. So you can see it's sunny out. I may have a chance of actually burning in the sunshine, but if you use your ability, you can call a storm, and with that, it becomes overcast, and therefore you don't burn in the sun. So you can see there's no particles around me where I'm not smoking, I'm not actually losing any of my blood, and it's really cool. You've got 5 uses of that. So let me use these up, and then I will show you the next one. The only thing is you have to use all 5 uses before you can actually get the next one. So, be right back. Alright, so the next item is a bone. You end up using it here, and you'll get yourself this ability called teleport. So if I am not near a bed, I will actually teleport near to it. And you can see here I teleported to the last known bed that I used, which was this, or if I used a coffin, it would be that. Now if I am near my last resting spot and I use this ability, I will teleport to the nearest village, which in this case is really close by. And then I use it again, and here I am back at the bed. It's an excellent ability, allows you to move around quite well, and get back to and from the village, which you may need to sustain yourself with. So, let me use up these abilities, and we'll be on to the last one. And here we are again. There should be... Uh-oh, looks like some trouble has shown up here. Witch hunters. Let's take them out. Oh boy. And they shoot fiery bolts, which, well, they hurt. There you go. You can tell I've actually been arousing too much suspicion in town with the villagers. Don't worry, these will go away soon enough. But the next item and last item is going to be a wool of bat. Now, I did not mention this before because I was in creative and I am not now, but if I try using this, it's actually not going to work because I need more blood. I need to have my blood pips on the side there full before I can actually gain these special 5 times a day abilities. So let me switch back to game mode 1, and now I can use it without having to drain anybody. But otherwise, you will need to have maximum blood in order to be able to do these, or at least obtain them. So there we go. I now have Bat Swarm. This is a lot of fun. So let's go out into the world and find ourselves some targets. Alright, there's a zombie, and I'm going to cast Bat Swarm on him. You can see the bats just go straight to town attacking him. Now they're not perfect, but they will end up doing some damage over time. And you can see they just swarm in, then they just fly away. You could try killing them, but I don't think you're going to have much luck with it. So, there is one other ability that you get at this level. And that is, you notice that I am in normal survival mode now. Zombies will ignore you. Other creatures won't, but zombies, they don't care about you anymore. Hi, buddy. So, therefore, you will gain a new ally. He won't exactly fight for you, but at least he'll leave you alone. And it is the most common enemy in the world of Minecraft. Alright, so with that new zombie respect, all our different abilities and functions to be able to summon things, live longer in the daytime, be able to create our own minions, which can then also end up giving us new powers and abilities, feast on all these people in the village, the ability to teleport to and from them, all sorts of crazy, crazy, wonderful things. We have plenty going on with this mod. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and until next time, see ya.